In today's video, talking about this National League matchup here between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves, and what's the start of what should be a pretty interesting series between two squads that are looking to make a push at the postseason. So this is going to be for August 10th, 2018. If you guys are interested in getting all of our MLB picks, including our daily free play, you can access all of those over at stumpthespread.com, which is linked down in the video description. So Vegas coming into this one pretty much sees it as a coin flip, as you can see on the money line. I have a little bit of disagreement with that, but we're going to go through the numbers here. So starting off with Milwaukee, in their prior series, a disappointment and some really poor pitching performances, but against the San Diego Padres at home, and the Padres being one of the lower tier NL squads that we've seen in 2018, the fact that the Brewers were only able to pick up one out of these three games at home is certainly a disappointment for them, but still standing at 66 and 52 overall, which puts them in a very competitive race atop the NL Central along with the Chicago Cubs. And then the Cardinals aren't too far behind that, as well as the Pittsburgh Pirates. So still four teams alive in that NL Central race, but it's looking like the Cubs and Brewers right now able to at least separate themselves slightly from the Cardinals and Pirates. But then in terms of their numbers, on the season, we have the Brewers impressively 7th in the majors in total team ERA, but then offensively, not quite as strong as you'd like to see from this particular lineup, about league average at 15th in total runs scored. Today, the Brewers, they're going to be sending out youngster 22-year-old righty Freddie Peralta, who's been effective in his time out there. He's made 10 starts so far this season, sitting on just a 3.54 ERA with a 1.03 whip, but he doesn't necessarily go extremely deep into his outings. We've been seeing that more recently. Over his last 4 starts, Peralta hasn't even been able to make it through 5 innings, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out in this one in Atlanta. So then we have the Atlanta Braves, who are able to split a very tough series in Washington, going 2 games to 2 games with the Nationals, able to keep Washington at bay in the NL East standings. So right atop the division, you have the Phillies and the Braves, and then a little bit back of that, you have the Nationals. If Washington was able to sweep that 4-game series, they would have been able to close things significantly with the Braves, but Atlanta, fortunately for them, were able to hold things off in that regard. So the Braves, in terms of their numbers, they're at 12th in the majors in total team ERA and 11th in runs scored. And today, Atlanta going to be sending out their trade deadline acquisition, 27-year-old righty Kevin Gausman. And Gausman, he's a guy that hasn't necessarily lived up to the high hype he's had. He was a high draft pick, and he's never really been able to reach his ultimate potential, and the Braves are hoping to tap into that. And I think that Gausman has a better shot of doing that in Atlanta than what he had in Baltimore, because in Atlanta, he has a much better defense behind him, and then also just going over into the NL will be an advantage for him, and especially coming over from the American League East, where there are some of the best offensive teams, of course, going with teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, for instance. So with all that being the case, as well as just the coaching staff for the Braves, I feel like can get Gausman maybe to take his game to the next step after he's been sputtering at times over in Baltimore. But he's made 1 start thus far with the Braves, and it was on the road against the Mets. He was a little bit up and down. He went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks to 2 strikeouts, so not necessarily the best start by any means, but I do feel like down the stretch run here of the regular season, Gausman's going to be a better addition to this rotation than what Atlanta had prior to him coming in. So in terms of the starting pitching matchup, you have a youngster on Milwaukee's side who hasn't necessarily shown an ability to get deep into starts on a consistent basis. And then on Atlanta's side, you have their acquisition with Gausman, who wasn't setting the world on fire by any means in his first start with the Braves, but a guy that I think can be effective here in the stretch run. So in terms of the starting pitching matchup, I might even give the slight lean over to the Braves, and then they also have the home field advantage on top of that, while Milwaukee did not look great in their prior series at home against the Padres. It'll be interesting to see how that plays over into this series in Atlanta, which will be pretty tough. So probably going to be a very interesting series overall, but given that you have the home field advantage on Atlanta's side, as well as a pitching matchup that you might even give to Atlanta as well, the fact that it's basically at a coin flip, I feel like the Braves coming in here on the money line at -106 feels like the better value bet. So that's where I'm going to side with this one, taking the Atlanta Braves on the money line. If you agree, give the video a thumbs up. Disagree, give it a thumbs down. Check out all of our picks for today over at stumpthespread.com. Link down in the video description. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hope to see you guys back here for tomorrow's video.